The first lesson I learned in my family was timing, not in books, not in people, timing in the house. If Daniel, my younger brother, was speaking, I waited. If I spoke too early, I was ignored. If I spoke too late, the moment had passed. Daniel didn't wait. He never had to. His emotions dictated the rhythm of the house. He was impulsive, emotional, loud. My parents softened his mistakes. They explained his failures. They defended him before anyone else asked. I was quiet, observant, low maintenance. I was easy to overlook. If Daniel forgot his homework, it was the teacher's fault. If I forgot mine, it was mine alone. If Daniel cried, the house paused. If I went silent, the house moved on. By the time I was 10, I understood. If I failed, no one would catch me. So I stopped failing publicly. I stopped asking for help. I stopped expecting fairness. Daniel learned rules were optional. I learned preparation was mandatory. College wasn't a dream. It was a lifeline. I started planning years ahead. Alone. I joined free clubs, volunteered quietly, studied in empty classrooms. I worked part-time jobs, nights at a grocery store, weekends at a small repair shop. I saved money in an account my parents didn't know existed. Scholarships became my exit. I spent hours writing essays after midnight, editing them until the words didn't sound desperate. I took practice exams in silence. I learned how to sound confident, without being entitled, a skill Daniel would never need. Rejection emails came almost weekly. I faced each one alone. When I finally won a partial, conditional scholarship, my parents barely noticed. "That's good," my father said. "Daniel's still figuring things out." My mother added, "No celebration, no hugs, just comparison." I realized then that success wouldn't soften them. It would only change what they expected of me later. College was not freedom. It was exposure. My roommates left mid-semester. I slept in my car for a few nights, showered at the gym, ate cheap food, tracked every penny. I failed my first major exam and sat in the stairwell, doing the math of what I could lose. Fear became a tool. I adapted. Office hours, study groups, meticulous schedules, asking for help strategically, accepting guidance without depending on it. I slowly built friendships. Not dramatic, but steady. Louise worked nights like I did. Maya stayed late to study, even when she didn't need to. We bonded over reliability, not pity. I graduated quietly. No party, no family recognition, just relief. Daniel moved back home after college. The world was unfair. My parents agreed. I took a low-level job, with long hours. I noticed something. Most people wanted recognition. Very few wanted responsibility. I took responsibility. I learned how things actually worked. Not titles, but systems. I stayed when things broke. I fixed problems. No one noticed. I became indispensable quietly. That gave me leverage. At night, I tested small business ideas. First one failed. Second nearly collapsed. The third stabilized. Through careful planning, I reinvested all profit. I didn't chase flashy growth. I built infrastructure, systems, teams. Then I met Alara. I noticed her first, not for beauty, but for the way she listened. She was working at a nonprofit, helping young entrepreneurs navigate early business hurdles. The first time we spoke, she didn't ask about my successes. She asked about my strategy, my decisions, my thought process. She noticed my care, my restraint, my patterns of silence, and didn't judge me for them. Our relationship started slowly. Coffee, walks, long conversation at dinners that closed. The place around. I shared my childhood, how being ignored had shaped me, how I had learned to survive alone. She didn't pity me. She didn't fix me. She listened, and she taught me how to let someone in without fearing control or dependence. I helped her too. She was fiercely independent, but lacked resources. At the nonprofit, I advised her on strategy, introduced her to networks, helped her organize campaigns. We became a team. We celebrated wins together, shared the weight of losses. Love wasn't about who needed more. It was about mutual growth. A year later, I met her family. Her parents were warm, grounded, and welcoming. They didn't measure me by my wealth, my title, or my history. They treated me as one of their own. I became part of a family that operated differently, free from calculation, free from expectation. I proposed simply, on a balcony, overlooking a city I was just starting to conquer. She laughed at my awkwardness. I said, I want a life with you. No conditions. No expectations. Just us. She said yes. 6 months later, we married. In a modest ceremony. Surrounded by her family. And a handful of close friends. My chosen family included. Her siblings teased me for being too serious. Her mother joked about my obsession with planning. And for the first time, I felt fully accepted. As family. Together, we became partners in life. Her dreams were my priority, as much as my own. I supported her nonprofit. She supported my early empire. Every risk, every late-night worry, every failure, we faced it as a unit. This partnership changed me. It taught me love without conditions, trust without expectation, freedom without isolation. I didn't set out to build an empire. I wanted to solve problems no one else was willing to tackle. I noticed that businesses, small, mid-sized, even some larger ones, struggled with digital transformation, operational efficiency, and strategic growth. Big consulting firms charged millions and offered generic solutions. Startups and emerging companies were left to figure it out themselves. That gap became my opportunity. Worldwide, implement sustainable growth systems, adopt new technologies, and expand operations without chaos. The early days were brutal. I started alone, taking small contracts at night. My first client was a local manufacturer whose supply chain was failing. The project almost collapsed because I didn't yet have a team. The second contract almost ruined me financially. Every mistake became a lesson. Every failure, a blueprint. I began building a team carefully, not quickly. I recruited the best people I could find, those who shared my work ethic, attention to detail, and hunger to innovate. At first, the team was local, just a handful of employees. Then I started hiring remotely. A systems analyst in India, a tech developer in Germany, a project manager in Brazil. Slowly, Luminar Global became truly international, with a workforce spanning 5 continents. We developed proprietary tools to streamline business operations, monitor performance metrics, and implement scalable tech solutions. Clients ranged from small startups to mid-sized enterprises in multiple industries. Each successful project became a showcase, attracting more international contracts. Within a decade, Luminar Global had offices in New York, London, Singapore, and Dubai, and a network of over 500 professionals worldwide. I became CEO, not just by title, but by design. I didn't micromanage. I built leaders under me, gave them autonomy, and ensured our systems were replicable anywhere. We had the agility of a startup and the efficiency of a multinational. Media coverage followed naturally. Business magazines, tech publications, industry awards. I became known not just as a CEO, but as a strategist who transformed struggling businesses into global success stories. Luxury followed, but deliberately. High-end properties in strategic cities, travel for work and leisure, and the ability to invest in ventures and philanthropy worldwide. Everything was a choice, not indulgence. My empire wasn't about wealth alone. It was about control, strategy, and impact. And then the calls came. Missed calls, texts, emails, voicemails. Daniel first. My parents next. The tone was different, urgent, expectant, entitled. Daniel's business failed. Debts piled up. My parents assumed my success meant I owed them rescue. I returned the call late, deliberately. I thought we could talk, my mother said. Daniel, he really needs your guidance. Your help. Guidance or bailouts? I asked, calm, steady. Not a trace of anger, just clarity. My father pressed. We supported you in ways we could. You have the means now. Surely you can help. Him. I let the silence linger. I won't rescue him. Not this time. Not like before. He needs to learn accountability. I didn't build this life to prop up failures. Daniel's voice cracked. But you always helped before. You can't just. I can, I said simply. And I will not. I can give advice, but only if you are willing to listen. I will not finance mistakes. That ends today. Silence. Their disbelief. Shock. Realization. I had changed. Boundaries now defined me. I didn't need to raise my voice. I didn't need to punish. I simply refused. I hung up. And for the first time in my life, I felt free from obligation. I returned home, to the life I intentionally built. Friends who became family. A partner who loved without conditions. A business that thrived on systems, strategy, and discipline. Properties, wealth, and influence I earned myself. Daniel is still waiting for someone to save him. I stopped waiting years ago. They raised one son. The other built everything, and finally rested inside it. I wasn't overlooked anymore. I was finished, whole, free. And for the first time, everything I had built, love, family, empire, was mine, chosen, and unshakable. To anyone watching this story, remember, your past does not define your future. Being overlooked, underestimated, or ignored doesn't diminish your potential. Build your life on your own terms. Surround if this story inspired you. Show your support. Like, comment, and subscribe. Share your thoughts or experiences below. Your voice matters. And stay tuned for more stories of resilience, strength, and triumph.